This day 535, the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. Today we're doing Siman Shin Chav Aleph, Chav Gimel, Tulam Aleph. If you would like to sponsor a coming shir or more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. Be very greatly appreciated. Chav Gimel. We're Dvarim. So we're explaining what we spoke about yesterday about kneading the mustard. The Poskin should Posk Rabbi Yossi in the Sidas Mayim Ba'amal to Kemal Lo Mekriku. But according to the Poskin hold that just putting water into the flour is not called kneading it. So these things, mustard and cress and the garlic, since the mustard was already kneaded from before Shabbos, and the cress and the garlic were crushed before Shabbos. You're allowed on Shabbos put in them more liquids. We shouldn't mix them strenuously. Because that's their lisha. You should stir them gently. Slowly and gently. Putting in the water liquid in of itself is nothing. They ain't a lisha, Rabbi Yossi, because according to it's not lisha. Nevertheless, the little bit in which you're mixing it, some say shouldn't be with a spoon, but rather with a finger, or shaking the vessel itself. And when the mustard has not been kneaded before Shabbos, and the cress and the garlic have not been pounded before Shabbos, even though putting the beverages liquid is nothing, nevertheless, there's got to be some sort of lisha or some sort of crushing going on. Because it won't be suitable to eat. Even if it's kneaded or crushed for Shabbos, also lisha more of Shabbos, complete lisha, the way you normally do it is forbidden on Shabbos. And that's a chiyuv d'oraisa. Even the mustard which is already kneaded. Nevertheless, the primary kneading is when it gets mixed in with, I guess, more liquids. And we store it with strength. Definitely allowed to do let the liquid trickle in little by little. I think I said before to stir it little by little, but it means to let the liquid trickle in little by little, or a bad spot to mix it with a finger, or then they're clear by shaking the vessel. The first one you can also use a spoon, but do it gently. The Yeshua holds like Rebbe, even putting in the liquid has to be from before Shabbos, because putting liquid in of itself is considered to already be kneading. You didn't put the beverages there from before Shabbos, also the garments forbidden altogether. But they put it before Shabbos, allowed to add liquid on Shabbos. Now, I feel they still even this opinion, if you make a shini, it's okay. Like by the unripe grain, which you talked about previously. Mishnah Berurah adds specifically where it's you come out with a light consistency. Even though it's not crumbled, the shasisa in Torah. By shasisa, there's no mixing midoraisa, much kasavim like he wrote, it doesn't clump together properly. Therefore it's permitted by a shinui. By sheni as opposed to these where they do clump together properly. Yesh lamar, isa Torah. Nevertheless, Yishom, we could say it's a Torah mutar deshir. This opinion holds that even if it's a Torah prohibition, it's mutar by a shinui. When it's a Torah, perhaps even these, there's no Isra Torah. The brackets, I'm going to run because of the Yeshomrim, Kama Kalishin is by the Mashkin Shabbos. Going to the Yeshomrim, that putting in the liquid in itself, Lisha, you have to put in the liquid from Erev Shabbos, even by toasted flour. But one Masha came out to a Shulchan, doesn't seem to be the case according to a Shulchan. There's having the Atzu Shapir. And according to what we wrote, it makes sense. The B'Sham ain't Lisha D'Oraisa. Then Lisha's not D'Oraisa. Masha also, but more son, that which here forbade with quartz bran, the Yeshua could say the Machal Be'ei Machmiru, because they could be they were more machmir by animal food, which the more son is evidently going to become, than Shiar Bei, because you're doing a lot. Okay, I guess the Ribui Kamos here What you do is machria le'echus, as the Rabbi Yosef will put it, that since doing so much, even though it's not really chulisha, they ask it anyway. Mechzik and gabo looks like you're mixing a large amount. Yeah, and megabo is probably better translated as churning than kneading, because kneading is with the hand, megabo is normally with some sort of tool. Okay, mixing like mixing in a say with a mixer, probably more with gabel. Chav down. If he's at Sena B'charda, according to this, by us with mustard showing zeneft, Sichum la'achin makom erev Shabbos. You have to put everything before Shabbos. Chen b'cherein, also by horseradish. So it's a chametz which you put vinegar or russell or borscht. Sichum came erev Shabbos. You have to do it before Shabbos. B'Shabbos mutar l'sim b'Shabbos. You can add. Avo im lo l'sim erev Shabbos. So you didn't put anything on erev Shabbos. No liquid. And the terakadish. You can put it on Shabbos with the shinui. Yes, in some say shetzinu eno asu sheino asu isa. By us, it's not made like a dough. Vein there's no issue whatsoever. Come cautious mothers, but it's difficult to align this. These are less us they shinoi. They should keep them do through a shinoi. I should be called, but meaning a week they know see krema crane. The cleavers you put the horseradish in the vessel, show them the chametz rust, and then you spill on it the vinegar or the borscht. The Shabbos says half, and Shabbos do the opposite. Again, you shouldn't mix with strenuously, a brief but lightly. The chain cocaine is then so to any other situation. The general principle is if you mix lightly and you do it in a way which is a very soft consistency in the end, then you're going to avoid the problem of lisha. But of course, there are these other ways of doing it. Very little liquid, little by little, making sure it was there before Shabbos, etc., etc. Chavches. Lefidas a place can be Rebbe. According to both Pascal Rebbe, and the Mime have a kibble when it's just put in liquid, that's already considered to be the churning. Also, lishlo lashtim batito offering allowed to urinate in mud or dirt. It's like mixing together the urine with the mud, or bafar with the dirt. Have a gibble, and that's considered to be churning together. I guess this churning is not being done with a vessel, so I guess I was wrong before when I said the churning is with a vessel. And I'm not sure then what the difference between gibel and lisha. I think the words are synonymous in that case. Mokashul is arbis. That's very difficult to be nizar. That obviously, if urinating is considered to be gibel, so gibel is definitely not with a keli. Okay, I take back what I said before. So again, I don't know the difference between gibel and lisha. I'm sorry, repeating myself just now. But anyway, amnam kifi near the ikar Rabbi Yossi, so he passed more like Rabbi Yossi, and the Sinas Mayim is not considered to be lisha. Shkein Paskuri for Rama Rush for Komosh Kasam. Live people Rebbe have a Davar Shem Miskaven. Perhaps the Rebbe can say Davar Shem Miskaven. Afi have the Havi have a psikration because it's psikration. Psika the lo nichol obviously you have no interest in that happening. But Jura says you can line this in a place where the mud is not yours. I guess the mud here is some sort of pitch you would use for building purposes. It's not yours. Then you certainly have no interest or any benefit from the kids getting needed. Okay. Chav Vav. Hamavshitas or somebody who skins, flays the skin of an animal. Have a malach to av. Vayoba Mishkan exists in Mishkan. Shifshitu oros selima the miros koshim, where they skin the skin of the hides of the red rams and the choshim, whatever they were. The shura and the measures if you skin enough to make an amulet chayiv reliable. Told also a derivative of that is hamafarik tusus me'alaklat, is removing a layer from the parchment. Also removing the skin of a chicken or of a fish, havi amalocha, which is a pretty big choma, because it certainly doesn't adhere the same way. They have hides. Am I going to say that's the case even after cooking, you should be allowed to remove the skin from, let's say, your chicken, and eat it. So everybody, we know that happens all the time. People eat mishoy somebody who likes the skin, post the he peels off little by little, and he eats it. It's by the time you're eating it, it's not the idea of skinning it is not relevant. Come on, malacha sabreo, just like the malacha breo, it's not when you're actually eating. Come on, bora ochel, because you know you can be bora food and eat. The siman shinir test. Hakinam b'avshata, so it's skinning. From achar bishul, after it's cooked, have a kabasa, the hide then becomes, the skin then becomes like the meat. But before the cooking, nearly the feel Be'elisha was saying certainly the tuma. He says even by those creatures, which I believe primarily are rodents, whose skin is like their flesh in terms of tuma. So you might say taking flesh off of flesh. Come in have Shabbos, but in terms of skin on Shabbos, havi malacha, it is an malacha. Chav zayin hamabed is also somebody who tans the hide. Havi malacha, it's also enough. But Mishkan is consistent Mishkan Kimavshit Shagosama, just like skinning, which you mentioned. The shoe and the measures cake, they also come enough to make an amulet. Achad mocha doesn't make difference. You salt it. Achad ma'avdo, you work it. Chayiv, you're liable. Shamlicha gankin main ibud, because salting is also a type of working it. The Torah Samabi derivative of working this leather, the tanning leather, is that Doris Labarago, somebody who steps on the hide with his foot, achis kasher, until the hide becomes thick. Or Marako B'yadar, somebody who softens it with his hand. Umoshko, and he smooths it, and he pulls it, Mashal and smooths it. Keder Shlatzarim was named like leather workers do. Harez plus Ma'abid is the derivative of ibud, of tanning, the Chayim Reliable. V'dai, Nishal, the Mishnah of Smachos, Chashim Melech Ma'abid L'Shleim. The Mishnah in Klagoro considers salting and tanning as two different melachos. Baruch Magmar, one has Chayim Melech, Chayim Ma'abid, the same melacha. When Matari said the answer is, take one of them out, because they are the same melacha. Biosuits and put in scratch etching lines on the hide. Iron Shem. Then move on to Yerushalmi. We're going to send the Yerushalmi Shoma. They said, Ma'ibur Rabbi Mishkan. What was Ibud in the Mishkan? Was the Tanakh Shum Sartatim Boros. They used to etch into the hides. Mama Sartatim Masargling. What does Masargling mean? Masargling, you like a sargel, a ruler, you make straight lines in order to write. Ein Sham. But in a move on Michael Park Ma'ibur Rabbi Mishkan. So Yerushalmi is not understandable. What does it mean? What kind of tanning was in Mishkan? However, but Chashim Elim Adam, which is said. It's by these animals with which they made the covering of the Mishkan. Elish Mishum Al-Mokam Ma'abed have a sirtut. But because, but instead of, in the same place where they used to work the leather, they used to also make these lines. Ma'abed. It's called Ma'abed as well. Because it also came after the malacha of tanning. They would etch on them from four sides in order to make an equivalent. I guess etching here is in order to make a line by which later on you're going to cut it, not on which you're going to write later on, but which later cut it, and therefore it's a malacha. He says, brackets, unfortunately, Skashi was there, unfortunately, difficulty this, the Baruch Moshe Kasavna, what we wrote is clear, Krakos, the Chaim, the Simulation, Man, Bays, and Simon Shim Chov Zayin. Chov Kais, then Shem Ram, so Peki Ralph. I'm a sarting, somebody who etches the lines, Kedei Lechtov, Shtei Osios Tachas, also sirted, in which you, and you can write two letters in a place where that scratching took place. Chayev, liable. Chayev She'etzim Ma'avir, Chuchel Sikra, the carpenters who put a row of a line of ink on a board in order to saw it properly. As it tells Masati as well. Also, people who make lines in stones in order that they should be able to be chiseled properly. Doesn't make a difference. You make the lines with paint or below without paint. Chayiv rely b'kal. The chayin is shesor modeh. We should be very careful. Shlo sided but spanakin, not to use your nail in order to make indentations on something. Davam malacha b'yam malacha b'ayin kamen simchin mem. The masirta aim is kind, but only if obviously the scratching is not going to last. In a malacha, it's not going to be malacha. But you do it snow should be the yarn b'skayim sirtut. If you make sirtut in a piece of paper, it's not going away. The whole idea is that we should let people know, let the master shame you. They don't know that to etch a line in paper using Al Malacha. Chavtes. Paskim Rambam says, Sham, there ain't Ibud Ba'ochlim. There's no tanning by food. First came out as explicit more of Ibud L'Shech El Boros. Tanning is only relevant to hides. Hamiskayim or Chamim when it's going to last for a long time. Below Macholim, not in foodstuffs. Lachem Malichas Basa, they have a salty meat. Avil's mind Rav, even when you're doing it for a long term, Shemachar Melch, you use live salt. Mikomkom never aim as Ibud the Torah. It's not going to be tanning. Rashi tells Shem Hidimi, not Torah and Ibud Ochlim. Rashi tells the whole day as well, there's no Doraisa tanning by food. Mikomkom Rabbani, yes, Ibud Ochlim. But on a bottom level, there is. Lachem Lakamon She'osa Sos Mei Melch Azin. They have laid on where it forbids to make strong salt water, limloch, snow, and to salt radishes. Because it's like tanning. Or near kamami looks like tanning. Because of a rav. But the Rambam does hold away as we shall see. Lamed. Zelashon Rambam. Marvin the Mayim Melch mix salt and water. The shaman and oil, the tov, Peter and dunk his bread in it. On those things, should put it into a cooked dish. It's only if you do a little bit. Have a hard bit, but a lot of us, and they should near goes to malacha. Malacha the top. She looks like you're doing some malacha, which has to do the cooked dish. Chazin shows not make strong salt water. They have 2/3 salt and 1/3 water. They sure it looks like you're making a brine. Mutal malach bait, so you're not to salt an egg. But radishes and similar stuff also that's forbidden. They should not kavish kvashim with Shabbos. Looks like you're pickling things on Shabbos. Now kavish also, and you pickle something also. They should kavushal to marshal. It's like cooking. Kavish reik kavushal. Muta tabel snom chayitzibah melch, but you can dip a radish or anything else in salt and eat it kamashano. Hareshlo litam abed also says it's not because of tanning. Litam shir kos malacha, but it looks like a malacha. Because it's like you're making a brine, kavish kvashim and pickling. Maraf, I have a tourist feeling every time Abed, Karashi places, the tour holds like Rashi places, as we shall see. Ain't O Zen Lashon, tour ain't O Sim Melch Abed, Biachat, you don't make a lot of salt words together, let's say to put into pickles. Today, the chemical code says to the sky, since you're making in order to last, Diamond Ibu, it's like tanning, Shamel and Kaiman, because the salt cures it. Aviala says, when I have to make a little bit, let's say, to should put in a cooked dish. Does it tell Shneishi Shemach put 2/3 of salt into it? Also, says, when I feel a mat, can't make even a little bit. Also, Arukh HaShulchan Biyaki, salt 4 or 5 radishes together. It might be called achas v'achas, you have to dip each one. Levada by itself, ochla. Avo beitzim, but it's eggs, mutzim you can salt a lot together. Because we have Shimshon, Shem Lach Biyachad, Harbe, Pulin, Vadoshim. There's basically possible. Shouldn't salt together many legumes which have been cooked in their pots. So he writes that the prohibition is ma'abed. And like as the previous sifra we said, it's called the New York Osa Malacha. Lambase. Near Rabbi says he based Bedin said the Melch in this halacha of salt water. Hetik Lashon Torah copied the Torah. Shazam Mishum Abed, it's because it's tanning. See if Gimel Din Snow Hetik by radishes, he broke basket, copied in the Rambam. Lashon Rambam, so Kavish Kvash, it's like pickling. And Sham. Chumdumash Shabba Sheikh Luk, the muscles in between pickling and tanning halacha. Because that is Shulk. Chumdumash says, no, there is a distinction. Shall taste the Sham Kasu, the Kshiyesh Sham Nunis, that's right when there's fat, like it's in the Melech. Not just fat, any type of other substance. There's no provision of salt water. Because the fat sweetens the salt. Can't possibly credit. But we cut a lot of radishes or onions. We don't salt them. But before we put oil or fat on it, and then we salt it. This is going to the opinion that the issue is ibud, because in this way there is no issue of ibud. As you're putting in the liquids. Avrama's contamination near goes malacha, but Rama's issue is that it looks like doing malacha, or kavashkan like pickles near the kind of gamba asur. So in this case it would also be asur because it looks like it's doing malacha. Mishabura was Miyashi the minute he says even for the Rambam's mutter. Okay, but that's beyond the pale of our discussion. The guy we have no also see in this case. It's also the chayish no shkenu that is the case. Shari because of my umelach v'shemen, salt and water and oil. Also I saw sabeh if you see shemen, so the ass is making a lot even when there's oil. Why did the Why did the Turner Shalom mention the heat of when there's oil? Because of this, got my Mordechai, because of that, and Shon. Malon, I taste the Mordechai. Why do you need to taste the Mordechai? Mishnah, I had some before came. It's a Mishnah. And these are those which are made. Those in Shem and Chiz, so I put oil to be in a clay. I can't get my Rama mutter. The going Rama also be admissible, that's the case. And Kosher Lami Shmitu Zeh. So why did they leave this out about the oil and the oil, etc.? It's not clear. Practice says, "Ein lomar the sfila the rock Rabbi Yosef sfila." You can't say he holds it. The only Rabbi Yosef holds this. My kamar will hold like a butter. Father al kachur ever see machmir instead, but this is more makir. Can't they shari kosher in rabban? So he's mutter going to him. It's certain mutter going to rabban. Fresh sfila it's possible. Holds the head to say who raklam made melch muatim. So for a little bit of salty, water was slightly salty. It's the Rabbi Yehuda which Rabbi Yehuda answers. Rabbi Yosef, how else you answers? And for when you have lots of salt water, it doesn't work. If he's a sharp Shemitah, that's why it's a good thing they removed it. This halachim. Because if it's a small amount of water, anyway, it's with the Kohen Rabban. You don't have to come on to Rabbi Shimon. We discussed that. Shimon? Rabbi Yossi, I think. Wherever it was. Rambam. Okay, that's getting too technical for our purposes now. Oh, I think I actually went one too far. I should stop after Lamed Alpha and do the Lamed Base. I have to rectify that tomorrow.